Why was King Nebuchadnezzar transformed into an animal by God? This intriguing event from biblical history has fascinated many, offering profound lessons about pride, humility, and divine sovereignty. Nebuchadnezzar's transformation wasn't just a random act. It was a powerful demonstration of God's control and a humbling experience for a king who thought he was invincible. Understanding this story helps us grasp the importance of recognizing our limitations and the supremacy of God's authority. Now let's explore the key elements of Nebuchadnezzar's transformation and the profound impact it had on him and those around him. Pride and arrogance. Nebuchadnezzar, the powerful king of Babylon, was renowned for his grand achievements and extensive empire. However, his immense pride and arrogance clouded his judgment, leading him to believe that all his successes were solely due to his own abilities. He failed to recognize God's sovereignty, attributing his glory to his personal strength and wisdom. This attitude of self-exaltation and disregard for divine authority did not go unnoticed by God. The Bible tells us that God decided to humble Nebuchadnezzar to teach him a vital lesson about humility and the true source of power. The king's inflated sense of self-worth made him blind to the reality that it was God who granted him his kingdom and capabilities. His pride was not just a personal flaw, but a spiritual crisis that required divine intervention. God's decision to humble Nebuchadnezzar was a direct response to his arrogance, illustrating that no matter how mighty a ruler may seem, they are ultimately subject to the higher authority of God. This humbling was meant to strip away the king's false sense of invincibility and remind him, and all who witnessed his downfall, that true power and glory belonged to God alone. The dream and its interpretation. Nebuchadnezzar had a disturbing dream that left him seeking answers, and it was Daniel, known for his wisdom and connection to God, who provided the interpretation. In the dream, the king saw a great tree that reached to the heavens, providing shelter and sustenance to all creatures. However, a divine messenger decreed that the tree be cut down, its branches stripped, and its stump bound with iron and bronze. Daniel explained that the tree symbolized Nebuchadnezzar himself, whose greatness and influence extended over many. However, due to his pride and arrogance, God decreed that he would lose his sanity, be driven away from society, and live like an animal eating grass and enduring the elements for 7 years. This prediction was a direct consequence of Nebuchadnezzar's refusal to acknowledge God's sovereignty over his kingdom and accomplishments. Daniel's interpretation was not just a foretelling of punishment, but a divine warning intended to prompt the king to humble himself and recognize God's ultimate authority. Yet, Nebuchadnezzar's continued boasting and lack of humility set the stage for the fulfillment of this dire prophecy, highlighting the importance of humility and the perils of self-exaltation before God. Living like an animal. After the prophecy came true, Nebuchadnezzar's mind was profoundly altered, and he descended into a state of madness. He was driven away from his palace and society, living among wild donkeys and eating grass like an ox. This drastic transformation symbolized the complete loss of his human reason and dignity. Once a mighty ruler, Nebuchadnezzar now roamed the fields, his body drenched with dew and his hair growing long like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. This period of living like an animal was not only a punishment, but also a powerful metaphor for his spiritual condition. Stripped of his royal garments and separated from human company, he was reduced to a primal state, reflecting the inner corruption caused by his excessive pride and arrogance. This humbling experience served as a stark reminder of the fragile nature of human power and the ultimate authority of God over all creation. Nebuchadnezzar's fall from grace illustrated the peril of forgetting one's place before God and highlighted the transformative power of divine intervention. This dramatic period of his life was designed to break his pride and lead him towards repentance and recognition of God's sovereignty. God's sovereignty. Nebuchadnezzar's dramatic transformation was a profound lesson in the sovereignty of God. Through his humbling experience, the once proud king learned that the Most High rules over human kingdoms and grants power to whomever he chooses. This realization struck at the core of Nebuchadnezzar's arrogance, replacing it with a deep understanding of divine authority. No longer could he claim that his empire and achievements were solely the result of his own strength. Instead, he recognized that his power and position were given by God and could be taken away just as easily. This newfound humility led him to acknowledge God's ultimate control over the affairs of men. Nebuchadnezzar's story serves as a powerful reminder that earthly power is fleeting and subject to the will of the divine. His experience underscores the importance of humility and reverence for God's sovereignty. The transformation from a mighty king to a humble servant of God highlights the central biblical theme that true greatness and wisdom come from recognizing and submitting to God's supreme authority. This lesson of divine sovereignty remains relevant today, reminding us all of the importance of humility and the acknowledgement of God's rule over our lives. 7 years of humbling. Nebuchadnezzar's transformation into an animal-like state lasted for 7 long years. During this period, he endured the harsh consequences of his arrogance, living away from the comfort of his palace and the adulation of his subjects. Stripped of his sanity and dignity, he wandered among the wild, eating grass like an ox and feeling the cold dew on his skin each morning. This humbling experience was a direct result of his refusal to acknowledge God's supremacy. Over these 7 years, Nebuchadnezzar's suffering became a profound lesson in humility and the recognition of divine authority. It was a period marked by deep personal transformation, where the mighty king came to understand his dependence on God. The prolonged suffering ultimately led to his repentance, as he realized that all his power and glory were gifts from God, not products of his own making. This period of humbling served to break down his pride and rebuild his character with a foundation of humility and reverence for God. Nebuchadnezzar's 7 years of living like an animal were crucial in reshaping his heart and mind, preparing him for a restored relationship with God and a renewed perspective on his reign. Restoration and forgiveness. After the appointed time of 7 years, God extended his mercy to Nebuchadnezzar, restoring his sanity and allowing him to regain his throne. This remarkable restoration was a testament to God's infinite mercy and the profound value of humility. Nebuchadnezzar's mind cleared, and he was able to return to his kingdom with a renewed understanding of divine sovereignty. This transformation not only reinstated his position as king, but also reshaped his approach to leadership, now grounded in humility and reverence for God. The restoration emphasized that, despite his past arrogance, forgiveness was possible through sincere repentance and acknowledgement of God's supreme power. Nebuchadnezzar's return to power symbolized a second chance, highlighting the importance of humility in maintaining favor with God. His story illustrates that even the most powerful can fall, but through God's grace, they can be lifted up again if they turn their hearts toward Him. This period of restoration underscored the message that true greatness comes from recognizing one's dependence on God and living in accordance with His will. Nebuchadnezzar's experience serves as a powerful reminder of the transformative power of God's forgiveness and the enduring significance of humility. Belshazzar's warning. Despite witnessing the profound transformation of his grandfather Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar failed to heed the warning embedded in his story. Knowing full well the power and sovereignty of God, Belshazzar chose to remain proud and unrepentant. His actions reflected a blatant disregard for the lessons learned by Nebuchadnezzar, showcasing his own arrogance and defiance. During a lavish feast, Belshazzar used sacred vessels from the Jerusalem temple to praise false gods, an act of sacrilege that highlighted his disrespect for the divine. This led to the fateful appearance of the mysterious handwriting on the wall, declaring his imminent downfall. Nebuchadnezzar's story was meant to serve as a cautionary tale for future rulers, emphasizing the importance of humility and reverence for God. Belshazzar's refusal to learn from his grandfather's experience ultimately led to his demise, illustrating the consequences of ignoring divine warnings. His downfall serves as a stark reminder that pride and defiance against God lead to inevitable judgment, reinforcing the timeless message that true wisdom and leadership require humility and acknowledgement of God's ultimate authority. Nebuchadnezzar's transformation teaches us about the dangers of pride and the importance of humility before God. If you found this exploration insightful, make sure to subscribe to Holy Tales for more enlightening stories and lessons from the Bible. Don't forget to like, share, and comment with your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more captivating biblical insights from Holy Tales.